So I have been covering a lot of in-ear audio that has active noise cancellation. But what about the over-ear, the headphone style active noise cancelling ones? Well, they do offer a lot more active noise cancellation. This particular pair here from Dyplay, they're called the Urban Traveler active noise cancelling headphones. They offer up to 30 decibels in noise reduction, and you really do notice it compared to the in-ears. The over-ear, because of their design, of course, does block out just so much more noise. So this particular model here has a charge time of about 1 hour. We do get up to 12 hours as their claim of battery life. That's with the AptX codec as well, and the active noise cancelling on. Now, if you turn off the active noise cancelling, you can also run these, then up to about 22 hours is their claim. They've got microphones on here, we've got controls as well. So let's have a look at them in detail. So this is the box. I'll show you what we get exactly inside this. So they are nicely protected. You can see right there the headphones laid out. And we've got a small little pouch here that you can keep them in, which is great. Here we have a little bit of paperwork. So this outlines basically just the codecs that are used there. It tells us the run times, charge times about 1 hour, Bluetooth distance up to 10 meters. And here we do have just the controls going over that too as well. So there's no application for this particular model here. And there's also no way with the controls to trigger Siri or Google Assistant, which is a little disappointing. We get a Type-C to USB cable and then a 3.5mm to 3.5. So yes, these can be used wired. Now, because these are made out of plastic, I find that the weight of them is very good. It's about 282 to 83 grams. And the build of these, even though, yes, plastic, there is some metal inside here. So right inside the frame here, so this does go in and you clip it into place. It's quite secure. There's screws on the other side that I'll show you shortly. So we've got mics here on the back. Now this housing, I think this molding, I've seen it before. I've seen it in some other ANC headphones that I've reviewed in the channel last year. And I think it's just the same one they copy. But of course, this has the AptX low latency support, this particular model right here. We've got microphones on the front as well, 3.5mm headphone jack down the bottom, and then the Type-C port as well on the other side with another mic right here. Our controls, so you've got your power on, volume up and down, and then tapping these gives you the option to go to the previous or the next track. Now what's missing, as I mentioned before when we looked at the box contents, is we don't have any way to trigger our voice assistants, which is slightly annoying for those especially that need that. So the pads here, the padding around our ears is quite soft. It's very good. It's like a fake, I would say like a fake leather synthetic style here. Now, I hope that this doesn't degrade like some of my other over-ear headphones I have from Sony. In fact, it started to break down. Now, we'll only know that after a couple of years or so if that happens, but I do believe you'll be able to source replacement one for that, for these cups that go around the outside. Clearly marked there right and left. And down here, we do have on this side, the ANC switch. So you don't actually need to power them on, use the Bluetooth function. You can turn that ANC on with no music, no 3.5mm cable, and just have, of course, up to about 30 decibels of noise cancellation. But it does not have a timer on it. So if you leave it on, which I've done before, you accidentally forget to turn it off, it will drain the battery completely in about like 12, 15 hours or so, which isn't great. So up top here, we've got rubber padding. And this actually does feel quite good. I've worn these for hours on end, and it's not applying too much pressure to the top of my head. Neither are the overhead sponge here. Seems to be quite good. But I do get a bit of heat build-up with these, which is normal. That's going to happen with all the overhead headphones that I have reviewed. And that's because, well, at the moment, we've got ambient temperatures, well, at least outside of 35 degrees, and you do get a little bit hot with them. So build overall, I would rate as above average. It's not super premium, but it certainly does the job, and using the plastics, of course, keeps the weight down. So once they are already paired up and you just turn on the power button, they will take about 2 to 3 seconds to connect up. That's all dependent on the phone you're using. So under the Bluetooth options here with my K30 Pro Zoom, you see it's listed, connected with AptX, and it will give me the battery life status as well. So right under here, there's no actual option to change over to a different codec. You'll sometimes see this. Now, if you're using an iPhone or an iPad, then you'll be on the AAC codec, and some other Android phones will be using the CBC codec, which is a lower bit rate, and unfortunately not quite as good as the AptX one. All right, so how do they sound? To my ears, out of the box straight away, you notice that, yes, they have increased the lows. So the lows have been bolstered up, and that's the tune it has out of the box. Now, when you turn on ANC, that brings up then the mids a little more. Now, to me, the mids actually sound better with ANC on, which is strange. And normally they don't, but it definitely changes the tune completely using it with the ANC on, the active noise cancellation, using it with no active noise cancellation, and then using it wide as well is different again. But out of all of those 3 different modes, it doesn't have lows that distort and clip. Not at all, which is good. And the lows don't interfere with the mids. Soundstage does vary in the different modes as well. Sometimes it sounds everything's a little bit closer, more closer together, the different instruments. And other times stereo separation with the ANC on, to my ears, also sounds a little bit better there. The highs are lacking a little bit. They're not super crisp. And the other thing I've noticed too is maximum volume. If you love to pump your music really loud, you may come out just a little disappointed with these in terms of maximum volume, because that's the big con for me here, that I have to run a volume of, I would say, about 70 to 80%, where with other over-ears, I'm running maybe 50%. So it's just lacking a little, and I really hope that the next model that Dyplay release, they can increase the maximum volume output. Audio latency. So this is a big issue for a lot of people, and what put me off Bluetooth tech in the beginning was the delay we get between video, like watching, for example, Amazon Prime Video, the boys here, or say gaming. But there's no problems, at least with this phone. The K30 Pro Zoom has perfect latency here with AptX. There's no noticeable delay between the sync of the video and the audio, which is absolutely great. Now, bear in mind, this will vary from phone to phone. iPhones, I find, when I used to have, well, at least my iPad, I noticed it was always a little bit out, so that could vary on the iPads, the iPhones, and then other Android phones as well. You might have perfect latency, or if you're using another codec like the CBC, it will probably have a bit of lag here, but at least with this phone, it's perfect. There's a sample of the headset's microphones. Now, if I stop talking, you can hear there's this tiny little bit of buzzing or static that is coming through on these mics. Otherwise, this quality I don't feel is that bad. You can still make voice calls, you can be understood. It's just that tiny little buzz that is coming through. I don't know what's causing that. Now, ambient noise. At the moment, I do have an air conditioning unit on. I've got the fan set to high. You may possibly hear a bit of that coming through, but it tends to block out ambient noises. No, not actually too bad. Okay, so let's take a look at what they are like. A little bit of an update here now that I've used these for about 4 days, 5 days or so. How do they feel? Now, when you put them on, yes, they are a little big, they're a bit bulky, they stick out, but they're not as bad as some models out there. There's some absolutely huge monsters out there. Now, for my ears, the cups on here, they do cover my ears completely, and they give a lot of passive noise cancellation, which is good. Now, I have noticed that from the top here, it does press down a little bit because of the sponge that they have used, that rubber. It's not causing me any pain. I do, however, as mentioned, get a little bit of heat buildup with these, and I don't find that they're applying too much pressure to my ears, causing pain or fatigue in the long run, which is great. Now, flicking the switch, which is on this side right here, onto ANC, as soon as you hit that, I can't hear the air conditioning, I can't hear any real background noises, and it even cuts down my voice so much. It's so obvious. So this active noise cancelling does a fantastic job. Now, I've listened to some test tracks which involve just traffic noise, for example, just cars passing down street kind of noise, really chops that down to almost nothing. Cabin noise of inside an aircraft, very, very good. So we're getting up to a 28, 30 decibel noise reduction, which is excellent. Now, has it disconnected? I have this in what I would call not really a noisy Bluetooth environment. I have about 5 different devices or so that are on at any given time. And if I'm in a busy train station or something like that, then maybe there could be some interference, but I haven't had any disconnect issues. The range on these seems to be excellent. I would say much better than in-ear, probably because they are larger, of course. Now, being so large, that means that they can use a larger antenna. So I'm able to walk right downstairs to the other side of the house and almost out my door before they start to break up on me. So it is excellent. They say 10 meters. And I would say it is getting close to that. Of course, clear line of sight, I've got floors and concrete and other things in the way, so I'm only able to get about, I would say, an estimate about 5 meters away, 6 meters, but it is very, very good. This is much better than in-ears. So what about other things to comment on? So the noise reduction, very good there. That's the main reason to go for these. There's a couple of things, okay, that aren't so great, and that is the top volume. I think it should be louder. They should really offer another, at least their updated version, just to push that higher volume a little bit more. Now, why haven't they given us such a loud volume? There could be two reasons behind it. Now, number one, which I think is probably what it is, to stop people damaging their ears. However, just give us that option to push a higher volume if we want to. And the second one being that maybe they didn't push the volume too high at risk of having the lows, that deep bass, starting to clip or break up on us or affect the mids. Maybe that's another reason why they have done it. It's just that the driver on there simply cannot handle having it too loud with too much bass. That could be one area why. The other thing with the call quality, I think it's okay, but there's a bit of static or some sort of interference coming through on those microphones, so not amazing quality there. Apart from that, I really love the fact that latency seems to be absolutely perfect for me. For the K30 Pro Zoom, there's no detectable lag between people's mouths. The audio is just perfect sync there using AptX, and it's got the AptX LL, which stands for low latency, and it's definitely delivering with that low latency there. In terms of sound quality, plenty of bass, deep bass, mids are good, and of course it does change in all the different modes you use. What do I mean by the modes? Well, that's when you use it with the active noise cancelling on, you use it with it off, or you use it wired. To me, wired, these do sound the best, okay? But you still actually need a bit of battery to run and turn on that active noise cancelling as well. And the switch, if you forget to turn it off like other models that I've looked at, then of course you will be greeted with a completely dead flat battery. But it only takes about an hour to fully charge, and even charging for about 10 minutes, you should give yourself then a couple of hours of runtime, which is all right, it's not too bad. So overall, the Urban Traveler here from Dyplay, I think are definitely good. Active noise cancelling headphones, perfect they aren't, and really there's nothing out there that is perfect, but I believe for the price they are selling for, especially if you're after mostly the active noise cancellation and something with deep powerful bass, and overall they sound good, then it is definitely one to look at.